I wonder what the next big fat loss thing is going to be.
Why don't you just try not eating?
Aha! I've got it! Hi guys, Ryan here with Treadaway Training, and today's topic is intermittent fasting superior for fat loss? I guess the first thing we should establish is what is intermittent fasting. Intermittent fasting involves having set periods of fasting or not eating and set periods of eating. The most popular variation of intermittent fasting involves fasting for 16 hours each day and having an 8-hour feeding window where you would eat 2 meals in the 8 hours. Now, I would like to clear this up right out of the gate. Intermittent fasting does have some benefits, but muscle gain is not one of them. 3 to 5 protein feedings per day seems to be the most optimal based on the current research. And with this protocol of intermittent fasting, you would only be getting 2 feedings of protein. I'm not saying you can't gain muscle while doing intermittent fasting, but what I am saying is the standard variation of intermittent fasting is not optimal for muscle gain. However, you could get around this by doing a modified version of intermittent fasting. Now back to the topic of this video. This video is about fat loss. Is intermittent fasting superior for fat loss? And to be quite honest, I've not seen a single study showing the superiority of intermittent fasting when protein and calories are equal between the two diets being compared. Now, before you get mad at me, I didn't say intermittent fasting doesn't work. I just said it isn't better. So you might want to continue watching till the end. Intermittent fasting does have some interesting and unique health benefits in comparison to the normal style of eating that we would typically think about. Intermittent fasting and intermittent caloric restriction have actually been found in studies to help prevent Alzheimer's and Parkinson's in older adults. One study even found an increase in insulin sensitivity in the body with an intermittent fasting protocol of a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour feeding window. And for reference, we don't want our body to be insulin resistant, so that study found a favorable result. Now, here is where intermittent fasting really shines in my opinion, and that is adherence. Most people work during the day and are busy from morning to afternoon and are less busy at night. And this actually lines up well because if you're having a small feeding window and you're fitting your eating into 8 hours, that means you can go during the day when you're busy and not thinking about food and you don't have to worry about eating. And then when you're at home and possibly bored, maybe sitting on the couch watching TV, boredom can drive hunger, which leads us to want a snack, which can be bad for a diet. So if we save all of our calories for after work, then that can help from an adherence standpoint because you'll be able to hit your calorie target if you're able to save all those calories for the times that you would rather be eating anyway. Another benefit to intermittent fasting is when you're dieting, you're going to be consuming fewer calories. And one of the biggest parts of actually succeeding on your diet is staying full, because if you're hungry all the time, you're probably going to break the diet and eat more calories than you're allotted for that day. So if you're able to divide the calories that you're allowed that day over fewer meals, then that means each of those meals are going to be considerably larger. And then this means you will get more full at each of those meals, because when we eat, as the stomach stretches, the stomach stops producing a hormone named ghrelin. And ghrelin's job is to go up to the brain and tell the brain that we're hungry. So when we eat and the stomach stretches and the production of ghrelin slows down, that means our stomach is not sending hunger signals to the brain, which means we will be full and not thinking about food. Now, who would I say intermittent fasting is a good fit for, and who would it not be a good fit for? If you're dieting for fat loss, and or if you are a smaller person, particularly if you are a female, you're not going to have a lot of calories to work with. So intermittent fasting can be a good fit here because it allows you to have larger meals, which can really be beneficial from an adherence standpoint. Now, who do I think intermittent fasting is a bad fit for? If you are a larger male, or if you're aiming for muscle gain, you're in a calorie surplus, you're eating a lot of calories, it usually won't work out well for you to do an intermittent fasting protocol, because the benefit of the intermittent fasting is going to be the drawback for you, because the whole benefit that I've been talking about this whole time is that it allows you to eat larger meals when you don't have that many calories to work with. But when you do have a lot of calories to work with, it'll be hard for you to actually eat enough calories in a day if you're having to eat these massive meals. So for me, I eat about 3,000 calories a day to slowly gain weight. If I were to try to eat 3,000 calories in 2 meals, that would just be miserable. I don't even want to think about eating 2 meals that are that big. That would be, I would be wanting to throw up if I had to eat meals that big. So if you're eating a lot of calories like me, it's hard to fit those calories into 2 meals. It'd be better to divide the calories up into 3 meals or 4 meals or maybe even 5 meals. Now, if you'll recall from earlier, I did say that intermittent fasting is not the best thing to do for muscle gain because of the poor protein distribution. Now, the easy way to get around this is to just do a modified intermittent fasting protocol. So what I would recommend is to open up the feeding window from 8 hours, open it up to 10 to 11 hours, and eat 3 to 4 meals. And then the first meal will be just protein. You won't use up any of your carbs and fat in the first meal, so you'll just have, say, like a shake, for example. And then the second meal, depending on how many carbs and fat you have to work with, you might want the second meal to also be just protein, or you can just have it be a small to moderate size meal, still consisting of mostly protein. And then the third meal would be slightly larger than that. And then the last meal would be up to 50% of your calories a day. And the one benefit to that, having the largest meal last, is one, this will allow you to eat a normal sized meal with your family. So if you're dieting and they're not, then this will allow you enough calories at the end of the day that you can eat normally with them and not feel so restricted. Whereas if you were eating a tiny amount of calories and they're feasting and you have this tiny little bowl of food in front of you, then that can be a really big psychological hit, and it can make it harder for you to stick to the diet in the long run. Having more of your carbs at night also has the added benefit of aiding the production of serotonin, which will help you sleep better. And sleep is very important for fat loss as well. Now for some final thoughts. Meal timing isn't super important for muscle gain, and it's even less important for fat loss. Intermittent fasting in and of itself will not produce results for you. If you are aiming to lose fat and following an intermittent fasting protocol, but you are eating more calories than you're burning, it doesn't matter. You're going to gain weight and you're not going to lose weight. Intermittent fasting doesn't allow you to break the rules of thermodynamics. If you're eating more calories than you're burning, you're going to gain weight, period, no matter how many meals or how few meals you're eating per day. That said, I do think that intermittent fasting does shine in the adherence department. Personally, even now, while I'm trying to gain weight, I do follow a modified intermittent fasting protocol. I'm super busy running this company, and as soon as I wake up in the morning, I go read my Bible and I get straight to work. And then it's just easier for me to work all morning, all the way up to lunchtime. And then once lunchtime gets here, take a short break, eat a meal, and then work until time for me to quit for the day, and then have another meal after that, then head to the gym, then come home and have my last meal for the day. For me personally, I have 3 meals per day, and I have a feeding window of probably about 8 to 9 hours each day. I'll usually eat around noon, and my last meal will be around 8, and then it will fluctuate a little bit from there, but that's a typical day for me. So there it is, guys. Intermittent fasting is not magic. It's not going to get you shredded by itself. You still have to limit calories if you want to lose weight. You still have to eat a calorie surplus if you want to gain muscle. There's nothing magic about intermittent fasting from a fat loss or muscle gain standpoint. But that said, it does show promise in helping people stick to the diet. And so while no, to answer the question of the video, intermittent fasting is not necessarily superior to any other diet for fat loss, it can be superior for you if it helps you stick to the diet. I've said this over and over and over and over and over. The best diet in the world is the worst diet for you if you can't stick to it. So if intermittent fasting helps you to stick to the diet, then yes, intermittent fasting is superior for fat loss for you. But that doesn't mean necessarily that it's going to be superior for anybody else. So just keep that in mind. You can take that modified framework that I gave you for muscle gain with intermittent fasting, and you can play with that. That's not necessarily a set thing. That's just a framework for you to take and play with and see how that fits for you and how you enjoy it. What do you think about intermittent fasting? Have you tried it? Do you like it? Do you hate it? You're indifferent to it? Let me know if you've tried it and how you like it down in the comments. I would like to hear your thoughts about it. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful and you think that others will find it helpful as well, then give this video a share on Facebook. It helps us out more than you know. I'll be back next week with another fat loss topic. As always, God bless you and your family, and I'll see you next week. That sounds like crap, dude. You should freaking take that off your truck. If I were to try to eat the 3,000 calories a day that I eat each day, goodness gracious, I eat about 3,000 calories a day. So for me, I eat about, some with